All right, folks, this is Jason from the Primal Outdoors channel, and today I've got a bit of a repair video for you. I've got my Propex HS2800 out of the van. I recently started having some issues with it where it's not wanting to start up, and at this point it's not starting at all. I can turn the dial to get it to start its startup procedure, but it will start through its procedure. I can hear the clicking that it's trying to ignite the gas, but it just never ignites the gas. I am suspecting that it has something to do with the igniter itself. I do believe it's getting gas. I've checked that there is propane getting to the rear of the Propex, and there is. So it could be a gas clog somewhere inside, but looking online, I have a feeling that it is the actual igniter itself is either too gummed up with carbon, or it's possibly eroded a little bit to the point where it's just not getting a good arc. I did find on Van Cafe's website, they had a little help article for the HS2211, I believe it is. They said that it's too much work to be able to fix it on these ones. So these ones, they recommend you actually take them into a repair shop. They say it's beyond the capability of the average consumer. So anyways, I don't think I'm the average consumer. I'm gonna go ahead and take mine apart and see if I can just fix it. I am going to reference the 2211's help file. I do believe once I dig into this a little bit, I can maybe figure it out. Now they do say it will void your warranty because you are going to cut the little warranty sticker. Mine's 4 years old, so I don't have any warranty anyways. So I'm just gonna dig into it, see if we can get it fixed. And you guys can follow along, and if you're having the same issue, maybe we can come up with a repair for this thing. So first of all, I'm just gonna get off the two little boots here. As far as getting your Propex out of your vehicle, that's gonna be vehicle specific. I installed this myself, so I knew what I needed to do to get it out. You're gonna have to, if somebody else installed your Propex, you're gonna have to figure that out, or hopefully you installed your Propex and you also know how to get yours out. So I'm not really gonna cover that because, like I said, it's vehicle specific. This, for those that don't know, this is your intake, this is your exhaust, or it might be vice versa. Let me see here. Yeah, this one's your intake, this one's your exhaust. So now with that off, there's a little access panel here. I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. It's just 2 screws. So while I'm taking this access cover off, I'm gonna share with you guys real quick some of the tools that you're gonna need. You're gonna need a Torx bit. I don't remember exactly what size, but I think it's either a T25 or T20. You're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver, a razor blade is gonna be handy, a small prying device is gonna be handy, and you are gonna need some heat resistant gasket maker. So this takes off your access panel, and this gets you to the actual circuit board on the Propex, and you can unplug it from the wall, take power away from it. You can get an air gun in there and blow out the little fan that circulates the air through the heat exchanger. So a lot of maintenance can be done just by taking this off, but we're gonna have to dig deeper to get to the actual igniters. So I'm going to start by actually removing all of the hex bolts that are on the outside. I have no idea. I should also point out I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to figure this out as I go. So before you start tearing into your Propex, a couple things you might want to check before you tear it out of your vehicle is make sure that your intake is clear of debris, that your exhaust is clear of debris. You may even want to just disconnect those from the Propex, from the bottom of the vehicle, and blow some compressed air up into the Propex. That might clear whatever the problem is. It could just be some simple dust or dirt that's causing some problems. The other thing that you want to check before you tear your Propex out is just verify that you are getting gas to the Propex. Now again, this is kind of vehicle specific on how your gas lines are fed, so you're going to have to figure that out on your own. So here you got 3 hex heads that hold the gas valve on. I'm guessing I'm probably going to have to take those off, but I'm going to wait on that for just a minute. We're going to take these top ones off. Out later, you do not need to take the 3 bolts out of the gas valve. You leave those alone. This is where things get a bit tricky and why you're going to need a razor blade and some kind of low prying device. The cover is not just held on by the Torx screws. It is also sealed in place with some silicone or gasket maker type material. So you're going to have to just work around the cover with your knife and your prying device, getting all that to peel away to get the cover off. I can see why they say this is probably something that the average consumer wouldn't want to do, because they got, like I said, this all glued down, and that's making it kind of a pain. There. Whew. So yeah, they they had like adhesive all along, so like a silicone or something, glue, probably heat resistant. So I'll have to make sure I clean that up, and when I go to put together, I've got some heat resistant silicone, so we'll just put some more on there, because I'm gonna assume that was obviously there for a reason. All right, so that gets us into the igniter, and now actually things are starting to look pretty much just like the instructions that I saw. So I'm going to take off these back 3 screws here. We're going to get them off. So as I already mentioned, you don't need to mess with the 3 screws that are holding the gas valve on. Leave those alone. Also, you see me completely take apart the magnetic relay. That is also unnecessary. What I didn't realize is the back cover actually comes off. It was still glued on. Once I realized that, you could have just popped that off. That gets the gas valve out of the way of the igniter, and you can just remove the positive and negative leads that are hooked to the relay without actually taking it apart. That's what's happening here. Okay. Okay. Piece of cake. Overthinking it, so that was also glued to it. So that actually pulled out gas inlet. So I probably didn't actually need to take off that sensor. It could have pulled off and then just hung to the side, but that's fine. We'll just have it to the side. But now we have access to these bolts here. They're Phillips head, and that's what's going to allow us to get to the igniter. This thing's very dirty. You got to remember, this thing's been sitting in my van, sucking dust for 4 years. So there's probably just a lot of grime in here is what's probably going on. Now I'm concerned. Oh, good. I was concerned this thing was going to be glued down. They didn't say anything about that in the instructions, but yeah, it's not. I can tell pulling this last bolt out that it's just going to slide right out. Now you do have your negative wire and your positive wire, so you are going to be limited to how far this thing can come out. But yeah, there it is. So this is your igniter. You get an arc that goes across these 2 leads here. I can see that mine just kind of look like, they're a little bit out of alignment, and I'm betting they're a little bit too wide. They said this should be only about 2 to 3 millimeters. And we'll just clean them off. We're going to clean off everything. This is about ready to get dusty. All right, so I blew this thing out, got a lot of the dust out. It was really dirty. Made sure it blew air up through the exhaust. Made sure the intake as well. So make sure that there's no dust or dirt in there, because that could have been also how things could get corroded. On the 2 contacts here, I'm just going to take some lightweight sandpaper, just very lightweight, and sand and make sure that it's got a good, solid, clean connection. Now, when you're using your Propex, you should run it every now and then at high. That will help keep these electrodes clean. And I do that every once in a while, but still, obviously, something's going on here. And I don't even know that this is it, because they don't look too horribly bad to me. So I'm just going to manipulate these a little bit, and you do want to be careful, because there is some ceramic insulation down here, and you don't want to break that, because that will definitely cause you problems. So I just want to make sure these are kind of set pretty good. So one thing I'm just now noticing is there's a little gas jet right here. This could also be my problem. I'm going to, it takes a hex head here. These gas jets can oftentimes be problems, so we're just going to pop that out. We're going to clean that really good and make sure that we're getting plenty of gas through the Propex, because it could just be the fact that that jet is clogged and restricting the flow of gas. Don't lose this. So yeah, it's a little jet. I'm gonna just put that right there. I'm gonna use my air. All right, so at this point, I think I've addressed everything. I've checked the gap, I've cleaned the electrodes, I've blown air through this valve, and like I said, this is a valve. Maybe it has something that's sensing propane as well, but it's if you try to blow air through this way, you can't get any air through, but if you blow air through this way, you can. So you pull a little jet out, blow that out, make sure that's all clear. I've blown out the jet, made sure that it's as well clear. I'm gonna actually use some carb cleaner on that as well on that one. So I didn't have any carb cleaner, but I used brake cleaner and I cleaned down in through this jet and made sure that it's spraying really good. So I think we're solid there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that back in. So at this point, I'm just gonna reassemble everything and then we'll go test it in the van. All right, guys. Well, we've gone out and we tested the unit and it is working now. So we did solve the problem. Now, to be honest, I don't know if it was the igniter itself that wasn't working or maybe just a bit of too much dust and dirt in the jets, and just cleaning and blowing everything out solved the issue. But either way, I was able to go out, plug everything in, and it fired right up like normal. So that's great. One thing to note, if you are going to test the unit, you do have to have the cover on it in order to get it to work, or the sensors won't detect correct airflow and it'll air out. I just put the cover on it and kind of held it down. That worked well enough to get it to test and fire. So now we're going to go ahead and get the cover put on properly. Like I said, they had a bunch of silicone all around these parts, and I'm pretty sure it is just to make sure that no exhaust fumes end up in your cabin. So we're going to do the same thing. I got some high heat silicone, and we're just going to put a bead everywhere that they had it, and then we'll go ahead and get the cover back on and get this thing reinstalled. All right, folks, well, we just got the Propex mounted back into its location. The exhaust and air intake are hooked back up, all plugged in, gas. Did another test to make sure everything was working. Worked great, started on the first click. So anybody familiar with the Propex knows that it will click, 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 click. And if it's not getting gas or something's not working, it just kind of clicks and then stops, and it keeps trying that about 4 times before it actually airs out on the controller. But every time I've tested it since I put it back together, it fired up on the very first click, so as it should be. So I'm really happy. I'm glad to get it back together. Just got to do a few finishing touches here on the van, but hopefully this helps somebody that has a Propex. Like I said, I've had this one for 4 years. It was full of dust and debris from just years of dirt road driving, so it doesn't really surprise me it was having an issue, but it's not really that complicated. Again, the hardest part is getting the cover off and breaking that seal where they have siliconed everything. Once you get in there, you can follow the instructions for what they have on the website for like the 2211. You know, check your igniter, make sure it's clean, clean that jet, make sure that everything is cleaned out and blown out, and then should be fine. Pretty simple system, so I'm happy about that. Anyhow, guys, I hope you liked the video. Hope you found something useful out of it. If you did, please do give it a like. You got any comments or questions, leave those down below, and I'll catch you guys again outside.